This was undoubtedly far from what I predicted we'd see this week, and a major change of pace from the heavy tones of remorse and high-octane action set pieces that preceded it before. But oddly, this kept within the serialized fashion of the show and delivered an entertaining experience.
Good job.
I had concerns when this episode began that it would be velocity challenged in its own right in terms of pacing, and that we were in for another installment that would feel akin to episode 13 of last season, where we had another dilemma for Omega to solve on Sid's behalf, but with little of the entertainment. To my surprise, however, we received some interesting developments to the galactic underworld and the activities that they involve themselves with. We received 2 new named characters that will almost certainly return in the future, particularly due to the actors they used for the roles being too good of a fit for them, not to bring in again, and a shift in the limelight to the underdog of the crew, Tech. I'll be honest, I had a lot of speed references that I wanted to use this week, but it would have just dragged things out a little too much to incorporate them all, so let's get through this as quickly as we can, shall we? We open on Ord Mantell in, oddly, a more vibrant setting, which immediately sets the tone of this episode being a vastly more light-hearted experience in my mind. Then to the dimly lit tables of Sid's bar, where Omega is testing Rekka on Dejarik, or Hollow Chess, something she proved last season she can outlast anyone on as she enjoys strategy-based objectives in games. Sid cuts them off quickly, mentioning the electric bill. Fucking tell me about it. She then asks Rekka, Tech and Omega to accompany her to another world, but there's a passing mention that Hunter and Echo are on a supply drop right now elsewhere. They head to the planet Safatoma, which, to my understanding, is a new system being added to the galaxy, and it's here where we're introduced to Riot Racing. Something I can only relate to with old games like Total Wipeout, Mario Kart and Space Race, only you don't regenerate in this if you fall off the edge or fucking die.
But did you die?
After witnessing some of the race in play, Sid tells the crew that she has a droid in the mix called Teo, who hasn't failed her yet. Clue word being, yet. It's here when we meet Teo, voiced by Ben Schwartz, who's claiming to be the best there is, only to be challenged by Tech, who questions the droid's high degrees of self-assurance. We later see, however, Tech's concerns were valid, where Teo's overconfidence becomes his undoing, while Tech maintains a calm, rational state of thought regarding this, and in the background spends a lot of time analysing the races. Logical processing versus programming. It's here where we are introduced to another newcomer, voiced by Ernie Hudson, best known as Winston Zedmore, provides the vocals for Melegi, or Melegi, I don't fucking know. A crime boss that has stakes in the race, or possibly runs the place. I couldn't figure out quite what his role in this was, but regardless he accosts Sid, and asks to place a wager on the race, to which Sid agrees. Cut to the race, and after some back and forth, Melegi's men screw over Sid by taking out Teo, and turns the race in his favour. As Melegi comes to collect, she tries to pass him off, but he isn't going to accept it, until Omega steps in and asks for one more race to clear her debt to him. He agrees, but keeps Sid for now as collateral. Tech and the others get to work on rebuilding Teo and the speeder, where we have a hilarious scene that ends with Teo confused over where most of his appendages have gone. We then see a new attitude start to rise from Sid throughout this ordeal, where she digs her feet in the sand over who she is and how much she's changed over the years since they last met. Back to Tech, who's still analysing the race before Teo is set to join. However, Teo becomes more arrogant with his strategies and boastfulness that he walks out into an oncoming speeder that takes him out again.
God fucking damn it!
After Melegi spots this and calls the deal off, Tech boldly steps out as the White Knight in this moment without revealing a game plan and says that he'll take Teo's spot.
That's my boy.
And getting into the race itself, he decides to play outside the rulebook and sets his own ground rules, and after some hair-raising moments, Tech comes out on top. We close on Melegi's men about to draw arms on Sid and everyone else, but Melegi stops them and warns the Batchers about becoming too loyal to Sid, but commends them for their actions and nobility anyway. The champion of this episode was undoubtedly Tech. The strategic play that we witnessed throughout this episode was perfect and played brilliantly to who he is. Tech played the race out in 3 stages, with Stage 1 testing the waters, Stage 2 clearing the path, and then Stage 3 taking the win whilst taking out Melegi's men for good measure. As a thematic play out for an episode goes, this played out with precision to present the effective nature of Tech's abilities. We know he's intelligent, but we've never seen him work like this before. His actions felt almost unorthodox for him, but actually played to his strengths while proving to audiences he's not the member to be sleeping on. He felt almost invigorated by taking this on, and it feels similar in areas to the story of the tortoise and the hare, Teo being the allegory for the hare in this instance, and Tech being the wily tortoise that comes through in the end with patience. Without a doubt, my favourite addition for some time to Star Wars was Teo. The ostentatious behaviour of Teo made for an enjoyable experience with the newcomer, as he possesses all the tendencies best known to the actor's previous role as one Sonic the Hedgehog.
Ha-ha! Nailed it!
Which include arrogance and an overzealous attitude, but with none of the childlike wonder and redeeming qualities. Ben delivers this perfectly and made for a refreshing and entertaining addition to the line of one-off appearances in Star Wars. Then, having Ernie Hudson voice the other newcomer, Maligi, who was certainly an intriguing addition to Sid's history, as you begin to understand that Omega is starting to have an impact on her attitude as well as the Batchers. He was certainly imposing, but to have him drop the pretense at the end and tell the Batchers to be careful should be a red light to who Sid actually is, if someone like Maligi is concerned. Regarding Sid's shifting attitude in this was never more evident of Omega's ability to change people than convincing Wrecker and Tech to support her, whilst proving to be some level of change for Sid. Omega has always brought the best out of the people she's interacted with, especially if they are redeemable, even swinging Crosshair around to perform a heroic act in the Season 1 finale. So to see her effect on Sid will be interesting to witness and see how it plays out over time, particularly due to the skepticisms from the likes of Maligi, Tech, and Echo. Though rightfully pointed out by Tech throughout the episode, the constant misuse of their skills to continually cover up her misdoings is sadly something I think we need to keep an eye out for as the episodes go by. Another thing that I felt worth mentioning was Sid continually withholding information about the ops that she's sending the crew on, and something that I feel will certainly become a point of contention in the future, as Tech is growing frustrated with it, as is Echo, and it won't be long before Wrecker and Hunter feel the same. I'm curious if she's withholding as maybe she fears they'll walk away from her though, if they know what she's actually like, or if they're given any indication of what it might be, it might start to make them question their loyalties. The lack of Hunter and Echo in this one was certainly felt, but it didn't lessen the impact of this adventure, and it had a good execution of the episodic nature that shows like this tend to have, so I'm all for this. The conglomerate of individuals that populated this episode was brilliant to see, as it made great use of the various character models the crew working on the show have created over the years, with a lot of the familiar species in the crowd for those eagle-eyed viewers that keep count. It was nice to experience a new world in Saphatoma. It bears similarities, for me at least, to Tatooine, whilst feeling distinguishable, and of its own then feeling like a simple reference or remodel of a familiar location. Before I get out of here, I just wanted to do something that I don't think I've done before, but I feel it would be good fun to point out, and that's some of the references that I could find throughout this episode. The biggest one for me that stood out was a reference to Lothal Minor, which was the planet Savage found Maul on during the Clone Wars. The delivery of Nerf nuggets that Hunter and Echo were escorting are a reference to food that was first appeared in the 2015 novel Heir to the Jedi, written by Kevin Hearn. We also find out that Sid's full name is Sidarin Scaleback, which feels rather fitting for a Trandoshan, and Maligi is a species known as a Dawutin. The most recognisable encounter with this species, however, is a recent addition of the Ninth Sister in Jedi Fallen Order. This was quite a surprise to see in the Clone Wars animation style though, but it does lead me to ask, could we possibly see the Ninth Sister in the future in one of these shows, given now that they have a base for the model? That is obviously just pure fantasy booking and wishful thinking on my part, but it would be nice to incorporate some of these individuals in the future, particularly as we do have Jedi in this season. Those are all the little references that I could personally find that were of interest to me, and for now at least that's all I've got on this episode. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and click subscribe for more content like this down the road, and until next time, take care and may the Force be with you.